And we're live on the Lindsey Beckham Show. And of course, I do not sound like Lindsey Beckham. This is Sean Yurtkaran. I'm filling in for Lindsey today. She is speaking at the Mississippi Center for Public Policy. And I believe that's over the country club. I probably got that wrong and she'll get mad about it. But she's there today. So I'm going to cover the show today. I got a lot of good topics for y'all. And we are here at the lovely Cotton Exchange Plaza in Flora, Mississippi, in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studio, or the MVP studio. I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to call that, but I'm not here all the time. I'm not as good with the ad reads as Lindsey is. So, but she'll be back tomorrow to talk about her speech and all that interesting stuff involving school choice, heated debate that's been going on for a while, and parental rights and all those things. So y'all tune in tomorrow, and she'll do that. What I'm going to bring up or talk about today is some stuff that I'd actually planned to talk about something else. And this morning I got an email. Kingfish of Jackson Jambalaya forwards me Eric Erickson, who's a conservative radio show host, emails in the morning. He sends them to, I think, me and Clay and Kim Wade and all that stuff. And one of the emails discussed something I didn't know about. It's more Epstein file stuff, which I know y'all never get sick of that, or maybe you do. I don't know. It's just so much to this thing. It's wildly fascinating. And the latest couple revelations in Erickson's email were Steve Bannon, and I think we all know who Steve Bannon is, on the War Room and one of Trump's confidants and right-hand men, is connected to Epstein pretty intensely. Actually, they had a very long relationship. I didn't know that they did, but I'm sure there are others that follow this better than I have that knew that. They had a really long relationship, to the point that Steve Bannon texted Jeffrey Epstein just a few days before his arrest, which I thought was pretty neat. Like, they were that close up until 2019 that he was texting him before his arrest. The revelations all come out that Steve Bannon, or the idea for the War Room, was given to Steve Bannon by Jeffrey Epstein. They've got text messages, and you can go on Twitter and look at them, where Epstein tells Bannon that that you need to get involved in media so that you can protect yourself. And so a year later, or less than a year later, Steve Bannon starts the War Room. I think it was maybe prior to Jeffrey Epstein's death, in air quotes. I'm pretty sure none of us really believe that was a suicide anymore at this point. And in all honesty, being I'm like the non-conspiracy theorist. You're turning to Clay's show or Kim's show or Lindsay's show, and they're going to jump on you about conspiracies here and there, and I'm the one who's the last person to do that. But they were all right. I'm the one to admit that I was wrong here. When that happened, I was like, oh, maybe he just committed suicide. Oh no, it doesn't seem like that. There's a lot more to this, or just there's so much to this that it's hard to take it all in and to figure out exactly what is going on. I had a friend of mine this morning that called me about 6:30 in the morning. It's one of my best friends, and he calls me in the morning sometimes to talk politics. And he was talking about how Epstein is related to Iran-Contra. And if you're older, you probably know what that is, the deal in the 1980s when we were getting weapons to the Contras in Nicaragua. So he was explaining that connection, and I kind of got, my brain was spinning a little bit, because I had just found out about the Steve Bannon thing, which also made my brain spin, because I can't believe that Epstein is the one that gave Bannon the idea for the War Room. And so y'all looking at all this, though, it seems to me that everybody, like everywhere, has been involved with Jeffrey Epstein. And it's interesting or amazing, I don't know how you want to put it, how Epstein got his claws in all of these powerful people. I mean, we're talking about Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, who's been caught in a lie. Apparently, he said he didn't want to go to the island, and there's emails of the new dump reflecting that he did want to go to the island. Prince Andrew, which, if you ever look at the BBC or listen to anything about that, what's going on in England is actually worse than here. They're taking this way more seriously than we are. The English are really, really upset about this, to the point where I think they're worried that it may cost them the monarchy. Like, and King Charles is worried about that. It's a really, really embarrassing scandal there, and there's a lot of nervous people, and they're really working on it, getting to the bottom of it. And it's just it seems like people are suffering a lot more consequences in England than they are here. And I was just listening to that on the way over to the show. So if you get a chance to look that up, it's what's going on in England is far worse, or people are suffering a lot more consequences than what's going on here. But to figure out I guess to figure out what is going on or somewhat what's going on, you'd have to put together some kind of a flow chart because I'm just lost of what Epstein was what he was. And it seems to me, and I've talked to a lot of people like this, and you probably hear this on Tucker or Breaking Points talks about this a lot if you listen to that, that they think that Epstein was probably an intelligence agent of some sort. And that does seem to be the most likely scenario that he probably was. Because I mean, how did he get this much, this much power, this much access to wealthy people? So that does tend to make a lot of sense. And the other disturbing thing to me, and I think last weekend I was telling Lindsay about it, was, are all these guys into young girl, like underage women? Like, I just didn't realize there's that many. I mean, I was a prosecutor for a long time and I prosecuted people that, had sex with minors and whatnot, but it just didn't seem like it was everybody's into this. It's shocking to me. Like, and not just, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter whether you're a regular person or ultra wealthy or a political figure, but I mean, it seems like the most powerful, influential people in the world were interested in having sex with minors. I just, and it's like all the conspiracy theories that I used to make fun of the right for coming up with are actually true. And I'm going to be the first one to admit it that I was wrong about that. And I don't know that I'll look at the world the same way ever again now, because it's like, what's the word when you say you've been kind of red pilled? Because I mean, this is so massive, and it involves every level of finance, government, entertainment that had some association with Jeffrey Epstein. And the neatest thing, again, the revelation this morning about Steve Bannon, I did not know that Steve Bannon got the idea for the war room from Jeffrey Epstein, that he was that kind of friends with Jeffrey Epstein. The only thing I knew about Bannon, like his, maybe I don't even call it his origin story, like he's a superhero or something, but he was involved, I think, with the development of Seinfeld at some stage, and maybe he was an investor or something like that in the 1990s. So I knew that portion, but I don't know. Maybe Epstein was involved with Seinfeld and Friends. It is nothing would shock me at this point. With Jeffrey Epstein. So I mean, there's just more and more coming to light, and then not only about Steve Bannon, there's a report in the New York Post today talking about Donald Trump contacted one, I think, believe he's the police chief in Palm Beach, saying that, he knew about Epstein's crimes and that Ghislaine Maxwell was evil, and that he called that and said, "I'm glad that y'all are doing something." This was at the beginning stages of the investigation. So according to the police chief, I think his name is Michael Dieter, President Trump called him in 2006 and said that, he knew about these crimes and that it's really bad. Everybody, I think his words were, everybody knew about them, according to the police chief, and that Maxwell was particularly bad. And this is something that just come out. It was in the actual FBI files released. Now, the only thing I would say to that is what's interesting is there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, well, this exonerates President Trump." And I guess on a first glance, you would think that. But to me, I wonder, he's always maintained that he didn't know anything about Epstein's crimes. He said that many, many times. So now now he doesn't say, but the files say that he had called the police chief in 2006 and talked about the crime to them. So I guess my question is, like, why wouldn't he have just said that? Because that kind of makes him look like, "Hey, look, I knew about this and I didn't, I reported it and that's what happened." But he's not said that before. And I don't know that there's been any affirmation from the White House regarding this new story. I just saw it this morning about him, about the file saying that he had reported it to the police in Palm Beach. But I mean, that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. Like, why didn't you say that before? Because we're like, okay, you called the police, you're admitting to that. And that's kind of helps your case that you didn't know anything about this. But he's maintained that he didn't know anything about it. As far as I can tell, as far as I've looked up this morning, I don't know when he's ever said that he knew anything about it. The seems to be the context of the dispute between President Trump and Epstein was Epstein poaching employees from Mar-a-Lago. And that's as far as I can tell. He's never said, "Oh no, I knew about his crimes." I think, he's explicitly stated, "I had nothing to do or no knowledge of any of this stuff." So now that's changed because of what this police chief says. So we'll see what the White House has to say about that. If President Trump's going to acknowledge that, yes, he did call the police, and maybe he's got some excuse to that where he wanted to keep that portion secret. I'm not quite sure what that would be. That's a possibility. And so that is I think broke this morning or this weekend, and really interesting stuff dropping out of there as well. The Ghislaine Maxwell, who is not going away, it seems like, was deposed by the House yesterday, I think it was, on video by video. And she, this is how bold this woman is, y'all. I mean, after all the things she's done, she says in there to the House committee, I have evidence that President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any involvement in, Epstein and mine shenanigans, crimes, whatever you want to call them. I have evidence of this. I can exonerate them, but I'll do that in exchange for clemency or a pardon, which is pretty convenient, actually, isn't it? So she's saying that she will exonerate President Trump and President Clinton in exchange for clemency or a pardon. Well, yeah, I'm sure she would. I'm sure anybody would. If I was in jail, I'd be willing to say that person is innocent. President Trump, President Clinton, you didn't do anything. I mean, of course, she's willing to say anything at this point. And if you look at the kind of things, she's getting a lot of special favors in prison. It's been like a very comfy ride for her. She's even at I think a federal prison camp, which you're not supposed to go to as a sex offender, which is what she's incarcerated for. But she's gotten a lot of favors, so much so that other inmates that have reported this have been moved to other facilities because the whistleblowers have been kind of like shuffled in and on out. So Giselle's getting a lot of good stuff happening to her. And now she's like shooting a shot across the bow to President Trump, who's obviously got the power to grant a pardon, that's saying, hey, look, I'm going to exonerate you and Bill Clinton if you pardon me, which is kind of smart when you think about it, because what she's doing is saying she's going to make the Clinton and Trump camps work together. Because I'm sure Bill Clinton wants her to say that he didn't do anything either. I mean, he wants that too. So like they're gonna work together. You kind of saw that, I think a week ago. President Trump was talking about Bill and Hillary and saying, "Oh, Bill's one of the smartest guys I've ever met, and Hillary is the smartest person I ran against." So talking very favorably of the Clintons, and so now I think you're gonna have those two camps. Now they're gonna work together because they'll probably do anything to have like this exoneration from Ghislaine Maxwell. The problem I see is, if you're President Trump, what you almost have to do if you're going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, you have to do it at like in the last few months of your term. You have to make that kind of a deal, because if you do it now, the political backlash from it is going to be so explosive. People are going to go crazy. I mean, I don't know even if MAGA or a lot of MAGA is going to hold on supporting him if he does that now. And I think he's smarter than to do that right now. I just think he has to know that. He's got political advisors that are probably telling him, hey, look, you can't pardon her right now to end this thing, for her to exonerate you and President Clinton, which is, again, just funny to me that both of them are. But because it's going to be too politically explosive. And maybe he doesn't care because he can't run again. So he's like, heck, I'll do it and I'm going to be exonerated. Screw what happens to the rest of the Republicans that are running in the midterms in November. That it already looks like a done deal there. So he might just say, whatever, I'm gonna do this, and damn the consequences. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But I thought it was pretty fascinating that she put the two of them together to make them work, to work out some sort of a deal where they're both going to work together so they get exonerated. And she should have thrown in like Bill Gates, because Bill Gates, if y'all read that stuff, Bill Gates has been really, really lumped into some weird stuff. Like, I mean, there's like a bunch of Russian prostitutes and God knows what else. And who thought that when you look at Bill Gates? And I know people on the right have always hated Bill Gates for whatever reason and probably did think that. But I mean, you just kind of, Bill Gates is the dorky computer guy, and who knew he was in the Russian sixums, but apparently he was. So this whole thing is crazy, and it is not going away, and we're going to be stuck with this scandal for a while. But I will get back to that on the next segment of the Lindsey Beckham Show. Y'all stay tuned. Wow. But I will get back to that on the next segment of the Lindsey Beckham Show. Y'all stay tuned.
103.9 WYAB.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity. liberty.
Pure Air Consultants offers services on your heating and cooling system. It's time to get your heating system serviced. We offer replacement, service, maintenance agreements. It's important because if you have a gas heating system, it can produce carbon monoxide. So you want to make sure you have your system serviced and cleaned to protect your family. You want to make sure your system is safe to run. You can find us at our website at mypureairconsultants.com, mypureairconsultants.com.
Get ready, Louisiana! Johnny's Pizza House is turning up the heat with our sweet the swamp pizza. Packed with crawfish, shrimp, a taste of crab, andouille sausage, bell peppers, onions, jalapenos, and a blend of Cajun spices, all smothered in delicious mozzarella cheese. It's the perfect bite of the bayou and the perfect meal for any Cajun crave. Try our Cajun flip or dive into a sweet the swamp pizza bowl. A taste of Louisiana flavor is waiting on you. Let's share a slice today at Johnny's Pizza House.
Why don't you mind your own business?
Mind my own business? What's that supposed to mean?
No, I was just thinking about all of the news of tax changes, insurance changes, regulations that are being passed down to business owners. I don't have the time to keep growing and to keep up with changing payroll regulations.
I know. It seems like all I do is handle employee-related problems.
You know, I hear PeopleLease can help.
How can they help?
PeopleLease can handle our payroll, taxes, employee benefits, and workers' compensation. They even offer an affordable and customizable 401k program and a 24/7 online human resources support center for all my HR needs.
Think of all the time we'll save letting PeopleLease handle our payroll and benefits administration. I'll be busy growing my business and letting PeopleLease take care of the rest.
Sounds like a good business plan with PeopleLease.
Let PeopleLease mind your business so you can mind your own business. Call now 601-987-3025. That's 601-987-3025. Or visit freepayrollquotes.com for your free quote.
Hey guys, this is Casey Ellis with Ellis Autoplex, located on Highway 471 in Brandon. Ellis Autoplex, known as Little Truck City, is your old school mom and pop style dealership that's family owned and operated. We specialize in 4-wheel drive trucks, but don't worry, we have cars and SUVs too. Looking to sell your vehicle? Bring it by Ellis Autoplex, where we pay fair market value and we cut you a check on the spot. Need your vehicle service or repaired? We can handle that too. Shop us online or set your appointment at ellisautoplex.com. That's ellisautoplex.com.
Vans Comics Cards and Games is your local sports cards and memorabilia store, plus Pokemon, board games, comics, and more. Get in the game, make history, and own it at Vans Comics Cards and Games, Pear Orchard Road in Ridgeland, and at vansccg.com. Better ingredients, better pizza with a better website. Papa John's and papajohns.com team up for the best experience. Save more with Papa Rewards and all the best deals. Order today and enjoy the new specials and Papa's pairings at papajohns.com and at locations throughout the metro.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for.
And we're back on the Lindsey Beckham Show with Sean Yurtkuran. I am obviously not Lindsey Beckham. She is out at speaking at the Mississippi Center for Public Policy today. So I'm out here talking about Jeffrey Epstein, Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, basically everyone's, mom and brother. I mean, it seems like everybody's involved in the Epstein file, in the Epstein, whatever, conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. It seems like everybody famous, everybody political, Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter what you are, they all seem to like little girls. And that's just unfortunate and disgusting that we are at that point, that we had this many powerful people and wealthy people and influential people in our world. I mean, because this wasn't just the United States, this is all over the world. There's MBS is, I think, listed there, and as well as Prince Andrew and the various other foreign dignitaries. I haven't seen anybody from Canada yet. I'm gonna have to go look that up. It seems like the Canadians, maybe they're not into that. That's good for them. That's why they're so nice. I was watching Bill Maher the other night, and they had Chris Christie on, and a lady who was the foreign minister or finance minister from Canada, and she had run campaigned against the current prime minister, Mark Carney. and she was telling Bill and Chris Christie that she that Mark Carney was her son's godfather. and they all look at her like, wait a second, like that's Mark Carney's your son's godfather? And she's like, yeah. They're like, man, politics in Canada is way different than the United States. Because I mean, who can you imagine that? Like, I guess that President Trump was the godfather of, I don't know, Kamala Harris's son or whatever. I mean, just something like that. It's just that's apparently in Canada, everybody's so cordial with each other, and they don't attack each other. And if you've ever seen a Canadian attack ad, I mean, it's like it really is. It's a joke comparison to what we've all lived with here in the United States. It's just they're just so friendly to each other. But it was pretty interesting. So I haven't seen anybody from Canada in the Epstein files yet, but I will definitely go look for it. But I was talking about the new revelation that Steve Bannon idea for his popular show, The War Room, came from Jeffrey Epstein in a 2018 text message conversation where Jeffrey Epstein told him to get into media now, Steve, because you need to protect yourself. So Steve is out there now that this has come out. He's freaking out. And you know who's not freaking out? Elon Musk. Elon is really happy. Go look at Elon's tweets and statements, or X's, or whatever you call them. He's because if y'all have followed this stuff as much as we here at WIAB do, Elon and Steve Bannon have not got along very much at all. They've been at kind of war with each other. A lot of it, I think, has to do with some of the HB1 visas. I think that's one point of contention between them. And so they don't like each other at all. And and so Elon's really happy today because now MAGA is mad at Steve because they're like, wait a second, Steve, your show that we all like is Jeffrey Epstein gave you the idea for that. And that's messed up. That's really messed up. And so he's got a portion of MAGA that's really, really mad. I mean, other than Donald Trump, Steve Bannon is MAGA. I mean, when you think of MAGA and you think of obviously Donald Trump, then you think of Steve Bannon. So this kind of thing, I don't know what this is going to do. Of course, I'm not part of MAGA, so I don't know what who's out there that thinks about that, who likes Steve Bannon, that he is this cozy up with Jeffrey Epstein, and they were these kind of friends. It's certainly an interesting alliance between those two. The other thing that dropped, there's two other things. I mentioned the first one on the first segment was that President Trump reported that Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell were involved in sex trafficking to the police chief of Palm Beach police force in 2006. And that's what came out in the FBI files. His name was Michael Dieter, who was the police chief, and stated that President Trump had called him and said, Ghislaine Maxwell is bad. I'm glad you guys are doing something. This is when the investigation started and everybody started finding out in 2006 that he was involved in this kind of stuff, and then which later led into his sweetheart deal with the feds in 2007. I think it was Alexander Acosta was a U.S. attorney who was later Trump's labor secretary, actually, that gave him that deal where he would go to prison at the I think Palm Beach County Jail, and then he was able to go to work during the day and then just come in there and sleep. It was kind of like, if you all know the story of Pablo Escobar, when he got, air quotes, convicted, he built his own jail. Like, so he would go live in his own jail that he built. Of course, it was like a mansion, and he had prostitutes and alcohol and drugs, and it was fine for him. But I think that's kind of similar to what Epstein was allowed to do in Palm Beach County with that deal. But the interesting part about that claim, again, is that President Trump has repeatedly claimed that he did not know about any of Epstein's crimes. He said that over and over again. So I don't know how that correlates to this new revelation, and if the White House is going to make any comments on that. Is he going to now say, yes, I knew about it, that's why I called the police, but I didn't want to disclose that? That's a possibility. He says that. I don't know how they're going to spin it. To me, it's interesting that he called at that time and has never said that. I mean, because you'd think if I were him, I'd be like, yeah, I found out about it and I called the police. You can check the record, which there's a record of it, but he's never done that. So not sure why not. Not sure what the White House is going to comment, but I'm sure you'll hear something today or tomorrow regarding that. The other thing that came out, there was a bunch of references that were released by the Justice Department of FBI tips alleging sexual abuse tied to Donald Trump, and was actually published on the DOJ's public archive. But within hours, the file was taken down and then restored with, I think, his name being redacted. And it's not just, we're not just talking about Trump's name being mentioned a lot. It's been well reported that it appears thousands of times across millions of pages. But this specific file was like a separate compilation of hotline tips. So we don't know if they're true or not. I mean, it could all be bogus. And complaints submitted to law enforcement. And I read through some of them. It was some statements about allegedly he had, had oral sex with this person and whatnot. So it was a lot of salacious kind of stuff in there that they had put up and then they took down. So make of that what you will. It certainly is, it is interesting. I did on the drive over here listen to some commentary relating to the redactions that were seen in the file. And one of them was an email, I thought, and I guess really my point is here, I don't know what they were deciding to redact and what the process is for picking and choosing what they're redacting. But one of it was an email saying like, "Hey, Jeffrey, what age girl do you want? Get her by 2:00." I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that. And they redacted the sender of the email's name. And the question begs is like, that person's not a victim. They're obviously they're a pimp. It sounds like to me they're arranging for Epstein to, have some young girl. I don't know why you're redacting that person's name. So what standards were used to redact these files? And it seems it goes contrary to what the law has said. They were supposed to protect victims, not perpetrators or potential or alleged perpetrators. And so, but that's what's going on. And we're seeing that, just like I was saying before about the files they put up about President Trump and then they took down. Now, of course, these, I can see some of the other side of it. I really can. Like, if there's all these allegations about various powerful people and then all of it's lies, because a lot of people call in and list things that are not true. I mean, I worked at the DA's office for 10 years and you wouldn't believe the amount of bull crap that comes through that place that you hear. I mean, all of it's all, I used to call it, I heard it on the street. That was the terminology for it. It's like, I heard it on the street. Like, what was on the street? And a lot of times you'd hear, people come in like, well, on the street says this. The street is telling me this. So I don't know if a lot of the stuff about President Trump or whomever else was stuff people just heard on the street, or did they corroborate any of it? Did they verify it? It seems like they probably didn't, because he didn't get arrested back then, and nor did a lot of these people. But that also goes to, were all these people being protected because everybody's super powerful, and a la the whole conspiracy that we're all dealing with now. But that is a genuine concern about what's true and what's not. And are people that are actually innocent going to get smeared in something because somebody, quote unquote, heard something on the street, which you hear a lot of things on the street, especially in Jackson. I mean, I cannot tell you the amount of stuff, the information that would come to my office from people that said they saw this. Frank Melton, if y'all were around then. I think we're back. Sorry, that was one of those weather, emergency things. Anyway, so I was talking about what you had heard or what you hadn't heard on the street. And so that's a lot of concern of, are people innocent in this, or are people not innocent in it? I think those are issues, but we just don't know what's true, because everybody's been lying to us the whole time. I mean, they're all just been a bunch of liars and covering up for all these pedophiles. Essentially, is what is just a pedophile ring of sick, rich people that are having sex with young girls, and run by this one guy that, as far as I know, he was a fired math teacher. Was his credentials. So it is a crazy scandal, and it has rocked our country and as well as the world. But we will continue to follow the steps of it. But I will be back on the next segment of the Lindsey Beckham Show. Y'all stay tuned. I'll stay tuned.
.1039 WYAB.
Americans for Prosperity is Mississippi's and the country's leading grassroots organization dedicated to promoting economic freedom and personal liberty. Americans for Prosperity advocates for limited government, free market policies, and empowering individuals. When given freedom and opportunity, Americans are capable of extraordinary things. If you are ready to make a difference in our community and want to get involved, then visit americansforprosperity.org. Be a part of positive change at americansforprosperity.org. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity. liberty.
Pure Air Consultants offers services on your heating and cooling system. It's time to get your heating system serviced. We offer replacement, service, maintenance agreements. It's important because if you have a gas heating system, it can produce carbon monoxide. So you want to make sure you have your system serviced and cleaned to protect your family. You want to make sure your system is safe to run. You can find us on our website at mypureairconsultants.com, mypureairconsultants.com.
Get ready, Louisiana! Johnny's Pizza House is turning up the heat with our sweet the swamp pizza. Packed with crawfish, shrimp, a taste of crab, andouille sausage, bell peppers, onions, jalapenos, and a blend of Cajun spices, all smothered in delicious mozzarella cheese. It's the perfect bite of the bayou and the perfect meal for any Cajun crave. Try our Cajun Flint or dive into a sweet the swamp pizza bowl. A taste of Louisiana flavor is waiting on you. Let's share a slice today at Johnny's Pizza House.
CBS News special report. The FBI has just released surveillance images of a masked person from the night Savannah Guthrie's 84-year-old mother went missing. CBS's Tony DeCopel says footage shows a person on the porch of her Arizona home.
They are images of an armed man hauntingly outside the home of Nancy Guthrie. 4 images in all recovered from a home security camera, a surveillance camera. They thought these images were lost. They are not. The man appears to have tampered with the camera, according to the FBI.
And FBI Director Kash Patel said on social media the video was recovered from residual data located in back-end systems. CBS's Jonathan Vigliotti says it appears the armed person entered the home through the front entrance.
You see the mailbox in that one photo in the distance, and you see the lights of another house. So this wasn't discreet. Even though it was early in the morning, this was a bold attempt.
CBS News special.
Hi, Kim Wade here. Are you craving a home-cooked meal without the hassle? Come over to McBee's Bar and Grill in Ridgeland for their Blue Plate lunch specials. Served up every weekday, at McBee's, it's a different entree every day. Chicken spaghetti on Mondays, beef tip Tuesday, pork chop Wednesday, spaghetti Thursday, and catfish Fridays. And McBee's Blue Plate lunch comes with 2 classic southern sides and cornbread or a roll. McBee's specials are served every weekday from 11 to 2. McBee's, buzzing the res since 1982.
Hey, Rankin County, swing by the locally owned and award-winning 042 Wine and Spirits on Highway 80 next to Sonny's Barbecue in Brandon today. We've got one of the largest selections around with over 200 bourbons and whiskeys to ignite your taste buds, more than 50 vodkas, 50 plus tequilas, 30 plus rums, and ready to drink cocktails, as well as premium scotches. And get this, we've got over 400 wines in stock for the perfect pairing anytime. Discover your new favorites today at 042 Wine and Spirits right next to Sonny's Barbecue, Highway 80, Cross Gates, Brandon. Men, if you answer yes to any of these questions, you could be suffering from low testosterone. Do you have low sex drive? ED, always tired, depressed, loss of muscle mass, obese, loss of focus and drive? You, my friends, need to get your numbers checked. Check out Men's Health of Mississippi, located in Madison, Mississippi, and online at menshealthms.com. Guys, get your numbers checked today. Trust me, she'll thank you for it. I promise. menshealthms.com. Men's Health of Mississippi.
Grizz Nation, your Memphis Grizzlies season is in full swing at FedEx Forum, and there's nothing like being there to cheer on your team. Grab your tickets and bring your energy to the electric atmosphere of a Grizz game. Tickets are always available online at grizzlies.com/tickets or in person at the FedEx Forum box office in Memphis.
Dr. Mike Stonington here from Stonington Farm Grass-Fed Beef. Here in South Mississippi on Stonington Farm, our steers are grass-fed and grass-finished. No grain, no hormones, no antibiotics, no mRNA vaccines. Our grass-fed and grass-finished beef is straight from our farm to your table. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at StoningtonFarm.com. That's StoningtonFarm.com with 2 N's. And we deliver every 4 weeks.
And welcome back to the Lindsey Beckham Show here on lovely 103.9 WYAB on the lunch hour. If you want to advertise on the Lindsey Beckham Show and and hear all her interesting takes during the week. You can reach out to her here at the studio or on Facebook. You can reach out to me. I can get it to her. She'd love to have you on the show and to promote your business. And that's what we do here at WYAB. It's a great place to advertise. Speaking of that, advertising, I run the Yurtcron law firm, primarily specializing in criminal defense, which sounds like a lot of these Epstein guys are going to need that. And also doing personal injury as well. I was a assistant DA for 10 years, and then I worked at the Attorney General's office and have run my own firm, specializing again in criminal defense for quite a while. You can reach me at 601-862-1320 or at onetextlaw.com, and that's ONE or the number one. You can use either way to get there. onetextlaw.com. I do a lot of DUI work, and I know a lot of people around here like to do a lot of drinking. So if you I'd recommend that you call an Uber and not say that you only had 2 drinks to the cops, because they seem to know better than that. But if you do get a DUI, I can help you out with that. Again, onetextlaw.com. While on the break, I got a text from the radio strongman, Kim Wade, saying, please do not disclose that I was in the Epstein files, talking about him. So he might talk about that on his show later. I think that was when he was with the Nation of Islam at that time, and you can ask him about his career with them and how he got in the Nation of Islam. To me, is really the most interesting thing, because I've never met anybody that is in the Nation of Islam that did not convert in prison. So in full candor, my father is a Muslim from Turkey, born in Turkey. That's where that's how a lot of times you become Muslim, because you're born in a Muslim country. But to convert to the Nation of Islam, being born in the United States, like the radio strongman, it usually happens in prison. So I think if you see the next Epstein drop and it says radio strongman, don't be shocked, because that is a possibility for sure. Going through all of this, all kidding aside, he is, he's not in the Epstein files as far as I know, but he may have converted to Islam in prison. Looking into all this evidence, y'all, about the Epstein file, not evidence, but allegations or whatever you call it, against President Clinton, President Trump, Bill Gates, the whole cabal of rich, wealthy, famous people. There was something I was thinking about reading through this morning. When I was a prosecutor, I used to use this closing argument or some derivative of it called the unluckiest man in the world. And what that was is that there were all these coincidences that happened to you that made you the unluckiest person in the world if you were actually innocent. And what I mean is this, like, well, isn't it a coincidence that his high school classmate identified him across the street? Isn't it a coincidence that we found the murder weapon on him? Isn't it a coincidence that his DNA was at the scene, but he didn't do it? I mean, he must be the unluckiest person in the world for all these coincidences to happen, and it wasn't him. Okay, what I mean by that is here, in regards to President Trump, this birthday card that comes from the Epstein state, he says that wasn't him. Okay, what a coincidence, what I always say. Then he says he doesn't visit the island. It comes out that he visited the island like 37 times, I think that's right. I have to double check that. His name is mentioned thousands of times in the files. What a coincidence. What a coincidence there. Then he's, one of Bannon. Steve Bannon's really close confidant. Steve Bannon's his close confidant, who was obviously Epstein's BFF, who gave him the idea for the war room and God knows what else. All these coincidences are there. And these guys are noted, President Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, to hang out with each other in the 90s, big time, picking up women constantly. All of these things, what a coincidence. It just happened. He's just the unluckiest person in the world to have all these coincidences to be involved with this noted sex trafficker. I don't know. Make of that what you will. Think about it, and what you think about it. But I think it seems pretty apparent to me what may or I guess may not have occurred. President Clinton, same thing. What a coincidence. I mean, he's always around too. Bill Clinton is always around when there's a sex scandal. I mean, he's always his name is mentioned all the time. Since the 90s, we've been talking about Bill Clinton, whether we're talking about Jennifer Flowers, now Jeffrey Epstein. When there's sex, there's Bill. What a coincidence. He must be the unluckiest guy in the world if he's innocent, if he's actually innocent. That just when you hear somebody's name so many times mentioned into some kinds of scandals, there's some meat there. That's all I'm saying. It's just like when I used to prosecute defendants and their name would come up. We'd have guys that were repeat offenders and we're like, oh, yeah, that's Willie Mc, who. And he's always mentioned, his name is always dropped around, whatever, robbery or dope deal or whatever. Well, there's some meat to that. And, Bill Clinton, President Trump seem to have their names mentioned a lot. And this, when it comes to sex with women of various ages. So that is my point to that. You can hate me, think about it all you want. I'm sure I'll get a text from the radio strongman here shortly, professing his that he did not convert in prison and defending President Trump. Anyway, I was watching the Super Bowl like the rest of us this Sunday, and this is me kind of shifting gears on topics. This whole Bad Bunny thing. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't know who Bad Bunny was. I had no idea who he was a few months ago when they announced it. I just saw the outrage that poured in, that the fact that he was going to be the performer for whatever reason. He was anti-Trump. He spoke Spanish. Laura Loomer put out a post yesterday saying it's because he wasn't white. You can read that. He wasn't white. This is too non-white for me, or something she said to that effect. I mean, whatever the reason, whether it was a race reason, whether it's a language reason, whether it's a political reason, I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter to me. The halftime show at the Super Bowl has kind of sucked for years anyway, except for that 90s rap one a few years ago. That was really good in my opinion. But my point is this, we got all jumped up into that. And about a week from now, nobody will remember it. And it's like everything that we get mad about is over in like 48 hours. And while we're consumed with who's playing the halftime show, whether I forget the country music star, whether the left's calling that song racist, or whether the right's mad at Bud Light, or whatever stupid crap that we're mad at, because it is stupid. All of it's stupid. All this is dumb. I mean, it's just ridiculously stupid. The rich people are sitting there sex trafficking minors, and they're running the world while you have no health care, your health care is extremely expensive. The housing prices are unaffordable. Nobody can buy a house. And they got us worried about Bad Bunny and Sydney Sweeney wearing jeans and a country music video. That's what they do. And their plan, in my opinion, is to pit everybody against each other. They're like, oh man, you got to hate the liberals and you got to hate the conservatives. The liberals are communists. The conservatives, they're all a bunch of Nazis. Yet these people are all your neighbors. While they're running around with 12-year-olds in a private jet making millions and laughing because you, again, got mad what kind of jeans somebody was wearing in a commercial. It's, we're at a point in our history where I don't know that there's always been what's called bread and circuses. That was the, term the Romans used to kind of pacify the masses and to distract them from political events. Now it's able to be done on such a grand scale because we have social media, we have, the internet, we have YouTube, we got podcasts, all this stuff to take our mind off what's really going on. And sometimes, I sit back and I'm able to compartmentalize it and saying, okay, does any of that affect my life? Does who plays at the Super Bowl? Does who wears jeans in a commercial? That country music song? Whether a trans person's on Bud Light? I don't care, because that does not affect my mortgage payment. That does not make my health insurance go down one bit. That does not make the health insurer cover stuff that they're saying they're not going to cover. That it doesn't do any of those things. And I'm self-employed. I tell you what, health insurance is a really pet peeve of mine, because anybody out there is self-employed, you know what I'm talking about. It's not easy, right? I worked for the government for a long time. You got your health insurance through that. That was great. Now, when you're an entrepreneur and you're self-employed, small business person, it's hard. Why aren't they talking about that? The politicians they do a little brief snippet. You hear, the Democrats and Republicans alike. Trump says he's got concepts of a plan. The Democrats, talking about doing something about healthcare to fix Obamacare for the last 15 years. They don't do anything. None of them do anything, but you're still paying ridiculous premiums for subpar coverage. Like United Healthcare. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have that I've had it before when you're self-employed that have problems with it. These are the things that we need to be focused on, not who plays at the halftime show at the Super Bowl. That is not going to affect your life one bit. What's going to affect your life is how much money you can earn, how well your business can thrive, how much your health insurance, how good your health insurance is, whether you can afford a home. The average age is 40 years old to buy your first home right now. 40 years old. So we've got a whole generation of people that the American dream does not exist for them. It doesn't exist for them anymore because you're 40 years old. I'm 46. I bought my first home when I was, I think, 29. And that was around average age for that, that time, 16, 17, 18 years ago, whatever it is. I read a statistic the other day that in 1950, if you were 30 years old, over 70% of the public owned a home by the age of 30. In 1950, we're talking about. So what is that, 75 years ago, 76 now? So we did better in the past than we're doing now. Now, it's 40, and it's not even 70%. That's just the average age of when to buy a home. So people can't buy a house. So we're making fun of people living in their parents' basement. Well, a lot of them don't have no choice because they can't afford the freaking house payment. And they have you mad about Bud Light and Cracker Barrel's logo change. Or like I said, the left is mad because they're going to call frogs racist or whatever they do, because they're just as guilty of this stupid crap. I mean, this is not a partisan statement at all. All of it is just utter stupidity to distract you that you're getting screwed on basically everything that you buy, that service you get, or assets that you want to collect. You're getting completely screwed, and you can go home and you can get mad about Bad Bunny. And, you can see whether that like pays the food bills, because it's not going to do that. It's not going to do that. You just get, you get to be full on a whole lot of right, I guess. It's like, I was right. Well, I mean, that doesn't fix your hunger issues or your health insurance issues. It's just, you get to do I told you so for, a few days, and then you move on to the next issue. I'm sure maybe it'll be McDonald's will change their logo, and that'll affect your life just as much as Cracker Barrel doing it or Bad Bunny. But that's something to think about, and I will, I'm sure I pissed everybody off, but I will be back on the next segment of the Lindsey Beckham Show. We will talk about Kim's time in prison. See ya. The Lindsey Beckham Show. We will talk about Kim's time in prison. See ya.
Keep it tuned here to 103.9 WYAB.
Hi, this is Lee Atkins of Home Care Plus in Ridgeland. We are a proud carrier of Abena Premium Incontinence products. Abena has the most absorbency available, making changes and leaks less likely. After 7 years as a seller, I can tell you these products are amazing and worth every penny to quality of life for patient and caregiver. And we ship all incontinence products as well. So please come see us at Home Care Plus in Ridgeland for all the incontinence needs of you or your family member. That's Home Care Plus in Ridgeland.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands, and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
Pack up the kiddos, hop in the car. It's a sweet little getaway, it's not too far.
For candy, chocolate, sweets, and treats. Smiles from the door to the back row seats.
Hey! Mississippi Candy Company, bringing kids and the memories.
Grandma, Grandpa, come and see. It's an excellent trip for the whole family.
Down D's Drive in Gluckstadt, Mississippi Candy Company. That's where it's at.
Hey kids, ask your parents and grandparents to go right now.
Efficient and trouble-free payroll processing is crucial to a business's success, and a lot of businesses are struggling with it. PeopleLease, a local payroll provider, not only offers top-of-the-line software, but also provides on-demand payroll support services. With PeopleLease, you're never on your own at every step of your payroll process. PeopleLease has the expertise in managing payroll challenges and will work hard to understand your business and employees. That's what makes PeopleLease the perfect choice for you and your business. Learn more online at peoplelease.com.
Need to ship something fast, print something now, or wrap the perfect gift? Head to the Mailroom Gluckstadt, your one-stop shop for all major shipping carriers. We pack and ship with care, offer private mailbox rentals, copy services, create and print banners, print your photos, lamination, binding, and secure document shredding. We always have a notary available, and we do gift wrapping too. Head to the Mailroom Gluckstadt across from Callaway's or online at mailroomgluckstadt.com. Stop in today and get it all done in one place.
Pops Auto Sales on Highway 49 in Florence is where you come to buy quality pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, priced to fit your budget. Stop by Pops Auto Sales today, where fair prices and superior service leads to satisfied repeat buyers. Or go to popsautosales.llc.com and browse our inventory and get pre-approved for zero-down financing with approved credit, with service contracts and warranties available. And guys, our truck inventory is one of the largest for any independent dealer, period. Pops Auto Sales, Highway 49 in Florence.
Still waiting by the phone? Yes! They won't call. They're a big corporation. They don't care about you.
I know.
Go
with Advantage Business Systems. They offer the same office machines as the big guys. The difference is their great attentive service. They're local and always there for you.
I love you, Advantage Business Systems.
Make Advantage Business Systems your office supply steady. Visit absms.com. That's absms.com.
Get ready, Louisiana! Johnny's Pizza House is turning up the heat with our sweet the swamp pizza. Packed with crawfish, shrimp, a taste of crab, andouille sausage, bell peppers, onions, jalapenos, and a blend of Cajun spices, all smothered in delicious mozzarella cheese. It's the perfect bite of the bayou and the perfect meal for any Cajun crave. Try our Cajun flip or dive into a sweet the swamp pizza bowl. A taste of Louisiana flavor is waiting on you. Let's share a slice today at Johnny's Pizza House.
Come together right now.
And we're back on the Lindsey Beckham Show, where I was discussing Kim's time in prison and outrage culture. I'm kidding. I don't have any facts about that. Y'all going to have to tune in at 4 o'clock to the Kim Wade Show, and he can answer all of your incarceration questions. Well, while at the break, since I was talking about what we're outraged about, how it's absolutely meaningless to our lives, has no effect on the cost of our homes or health insurance or grocery bills or anything that matters in our lives, that it doesn't, then maybe what we should do, I'm going to tell Lindsey if she wants to start this segment, of have an Outrage of the Week award. There's got to be, what story is the most ridiculous Outrage of the Week award? Or you can call it the Forgotten by Friday segment. What will we forget by this Friday? I wonder how many people are going to remember 2 things about Bad Bunny by Friday. They're not going, we'll have moved on to something else. Which dinosaurs would win in a fight? It'll be something ridiculous like that. That's what we're going to go on to. I mean, the next episode of the show is going to be called Everybody's Mad and Nobody Knows Why. Because that's where we are. And it's because media is incentivized to do that to you right now because everything's clickbait. So they're going to do anything. Have you ever seen the YouTube thumbnails when you go on YouTube, where those are the actual pictures over the videos, where it says Tim Pool destroys Ben Shapiro, or Cenk destroys Megyn Kelly, whatever. Everybody's destroying each other. And then you're gonna. I particularly never click on a single YouTube video when it says someone destroyed someone else, unless it's we destroyed a building in a war. Maybe I want to watch that video. But I mean, a political pundit destroying another one, and then I have clicked on them before, and then it's actually really weak sauce stuff because they don't destroy anybody. But that's what sells these days, is clicking on that kind of stuff. Because okay, so and so is going to destroy this person. Everybody's going to want to click on that, and now get yourself all mad and your blood pressure up, and ruin your first half of your morning, and then you'll move on to something else. But you'll never focus on what's really facing you. The real problem is what we should be asking. Again, why our healthcare premiums are so high, why the cost of homes are so high. Those are things that we need to focus on, because we need to fix it now, because it is going to severely detriment this country's future if we do not, if we let them get away with bread and circus on us. And that's what they're doing. I mean, they're doing it. They're throwing this kind of stuff at us while they go traffic young girls around the world and, drink expensive champagne and party in Dubai or whatever they're doing, because they've got a lot of money. When you got a lot of money, you can do whatever you want, while the rest of us are sitting there again mad about the Gene commercial or the Super Bowl halftime show, or the dinosaurs, or which dinosaur is going to win the fight. It's all equally ridiculous. But now you will be able to listen to Lindsey tomorrow, and I will be here Friday covering for her. You can call in and yell at me, and if you hated this show, just let me know. See ya.